This year, we have already seen 3 new MCU movies come out this year, and my top 10 MCU movies has been adjusted a little bit, so let's talk about it. Now, I think we're going to see a lot of movies in this top 10 that a lot of you watching are going to agree with should be in the top 10 in the MCU, but the order might be a little bit different, or there's definitely going to be some in there that might be a little controversial. And when I do these rankings, it's a little bit of a combination of like the sheer quality of the movie and how much I just thoroughly love the movie, or if there's like the higher the movie is, the more of a connection I feel to that movie along with its quality. Now, a few quick honorable mentions, like right outside my top five, I think in like the 14th spot, I have Multiverse of Madness. Now, a lot of people love to crap on this movie, and it definitely has some like potential where that it could have met, but I still thoroughly love this movie. I love the direction by Sam Raimi, like the horror elements of it. I think it also just looks incredible. Wanda was incredible as a villain. All the different strangers were really cool. The multiverse aspects that we got, I thought were also really cool, even though in a movie called Multiverse of Madness, we probably should have had a little bit more of that. But I remember watching this in theaters and just thoroughly loving it. I've rewatched it a few times, and I really like this movie. Another honorable mention is the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. This is a movie that I know could probably be in a lot of people's top fives, even top threes in the MCU. It's a great movie, no doubt about it. It's just a movie that I didn't see in theater, so I don't have a huge connection to it, but I can fully understand how good it is. And I love this movie. I love the Guardians so much. Last honorable mention is the Black Panther, which is just right outside my top 10. Thoroughly incredible. Chadwick Boseman is probably my favorite actors ever. Black Panther is definitely one of the top MCU movies. But kicking off my top 10, I have Thor Ragnarok. This movie is just an absolute blast. I love it so much. Chris Hemsworth is great in this. Tom Hiddleston is great in this. Tessa Thompson is so good in this. We even see some Jeff Goldblum and some Mark Ruffalo as Hulk. Kate Blanchett as Hela is also very, very good. Like the comedy is great, the action's great, the awesome like needle drop moments are also so good. It does kind of feel like the court of public opinion is swaying a little bit because of how bad Thor: Love and Thunder is. People can kind of just equate it to being just the bad parts of Ragnarok, but I still think Ragnarok is excellent and should be in a lot of people's conversations as one of the top MCU movies. Now, with number 9 spot, I have Iron Man, the one that started this all. Even though this movie is coming up on almost 2 decades old, it still absolutely holds up with great CGI and great performances. There's simply not a bad RDJ performance in the MCU, and the first time we see him as Tony Stark, it is just the one that sets the tone. It's so good. Like, we get to see a proper origin for this character. I remember growing up getting introduced to this character. I didn't really know much about Iron Man or his lore or his like whole history or backstory, and I thought this movie was so good. Definitely one of my favorite movies in the MCU, one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. Now moving into the number 8 spot, I have Avengers Endgame. For a really long time, I had Avengers Endgame at my number 2 spot in the MCU. And recently I moved some things around, as I'll talk about later on in this video, and I made the adjustment to put Endgame a lot lower. This is not knocking Endgame in any way. It's still a 9 out of 10, but it just isn't at the caliber as some of these other movies that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Like it is a little bit long, but it still has so many incredible moments. It has like a great opening, and then has like the timey-wimey stuff in the middle, and then just a phenomenal ending. Like there really isn't a better way to send off these, like especially the main 6 actors who started this all, started the Avengers, started this whole journey. So it's a great movie, one of the best movies in the MCU, one of the best comic book movies of all time. It's just truly an achievement. And up next, I have Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I'm sure some of you might hear this at the number 7 spot. I think that's a little bit low, but that's another one. It's kind of a similar example to like the first Guardians movie. I don't have like a huge emotional connection to it because I didn't see it in theaters. Like early on in the MCU, I was a little more nitpicky with my movies that I would see because I remember seeing Iron Man, loving Iron Man. I didn't see any of the early Cap movies or any of the early Thor movies. And then the MCU started to grow a little bit with like the Avengers, so I got a little bit more into it. But then there were still some movies that fell through the cracks. And Winter Soldier is an example of one of them. But upon actually watching these movies, there's no question that this movie is phenomenal. Like there's so much incredible action. It's such an interesting story. We get the introduction of like Sam Wilson. Like the elevator fight scene on its own is just phenomenal. And now just outside my top 5, I have the first Avengers movie. I remember seeing this one in theaters. I love this movie so much. It's the first of its kind. We get all these different movies that converge into this one huge team up live action superhero movie. And it's just excellent. Like every time you watch, you find a new thing that you love about it. It is the start of the whole Infinity Saga that leads into Infinity War and Endgame. Everybody's at the top of their game. All 6 of the Avengers. Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. It is just an excellent movie start to finish. The reason I might have a little bit lower than most people is like I think it's like kind of weirdly shot at some moments. Like I remember like that one random shot of Thor during that big confrontation where like Tony and Steve are kind of going at each other. Then there's this shot of Thor where he's like in the bottom like right third of the movie. It just looked a little bit weird to me. There's just some shots that I think were just some weird directorial decisions in my opinion. But I'm not. Who am I? I'm not a film director or anything. Why am I nitpicking this? But it's just one weird thing with the movie that I didn't like love, which is why it's a little bit lower than these top five, which is just like a solid, like solidified top five for me, basically. Like I said, this top five is so good. I think these top like two through four could probably like change in like their actual order. Before this video, I'm gonna say the number five spot I have Captain America: Civil War. My cat has now joined me for this top five. But anyway, I love Civil War. I'll always have a connection with Civil War because I remember seeing this one in theaters. And this was one of the movies that really started to kind of project me into being like the MCU super fan I am today. Like one of the movies I'll talk about in a little bit, it was the movie that like just completely, absolutely set me in my complete MCU fandom I am right now. It just absolutely projected me to that next level of absolute obsession. But Civil War, man, it's just excellent. We get the Tony, Cap, and Bucky fight at the end, which is one of the best fight scenes in the MCU. We get to see Tony as like the antagonist of the movie after him being the main guy since the beginning. It also just has like a very interesting dialogue about how superheroes should be managed in this universe. And like, if this was a real problem today, what side would you be on? I genuinely don't know what I would think. And we get one of the best suits in the MCU with the Black Panther suit in Civil War. Like, there's so much good. And like I mentioned before, Chadwick Boseman was one of my favorite actors probably ever. So seeing him in his debut as Black Panther was so, so awesome. And we're going to now move on to number four spot, which is Spider-Man No Way Home, my number one favorite movie theater experience my entire life. A lot of people are starting to kind of turn on this movie and say it's just a lot more nostalgia bait rather than being like an actually good movie. There's certainly some nostalgia a part of it, but it doesn't separate the fact that it's actually an incredible movie still. Can I admit that I stood up and cheered when I saw Andrew Garfield on screen? Yes, yes, I did. Does that probably affect my score in a little bit in my overall experience of the movie and maybe projecting it's a near 10 out of 10 for me? Yeah, maybe it does. But so does the action sequences. So does Tom Holland's Spider-Man story, his whole dilemma that he's dealing with throughout this movie. And yeah, we get some like old villains that come back, but Willem Dafoe still finds a new way to add something more to this awesome character that we got to know and love. And we got to see Alfred Molina come back and he added something extra to his character too. We got to have some characters that we love. They got to have some like closure moments. We got to have Peter and Doc Ock kind of have their whole like resolving of their differences. We got to have Andrew saving MJ, resolving his trauma with Gwen. Like we just need to like reestablish the definition of the word cameo because Andrew and Toby did not cameo in this film. They were integral parts to Tom's story in this movie. That's not what a cameo is. A cameo was the guy who plays Ash in The Evil Dead in Multiverse of Madness. That's a cameo. But Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield did not cameo in this. They were integral parts of the story and made it even better. And we are now at my number three spot. Again, these movies could be interchangeable, but I think at the number three spot, I'm going to say Fantastic Four: The First Steps. I think Fantastic Four is truly excellent, and it's one of the only three 10 out of 10s in the MCU for me. The character dynamics in this film, the acting, the writing, the storytelling, their little mini origin story in the beginning, the whole story with Galactus, the whole story with Silver Surfer, the action, the space sequence, the ending, again, the dynamics between everybody, everyone's performance is just top to bottom excellent. Did I get to see this movie early in IMAX? And could that affect my score a little bit? Maybe it could, but I don't care because I thoroughly love this movie and will always have a special place in my heart because it's also one of the only two MCU movies that has made me shed a tear. That sequence in the space, that space chase sequence is just phenomenal. The birthing sequence, it is just so, so, so good. I don't understand the problems that people have with this film. I think it's just almost perfect. It's just genuinely fantastic. Say that again. All right, running out of time here. Got two more spots to talk about. Number two spot, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, this is the other movie, the only other MCU movie that has made me cry because the emotion in this film is what sets it apart for me. Not only like the Rocket backstory sequence is just absolutely heartbreaking, but the ending, like the I love you guys from Groot, everyone kind of going their own way, this family finding their own places that may not have each other, but then the dog days are over sequence always makes me cry and always gives me chills. It is just genuinely excellent. James Gunn, you freaking genius. Now, just like everybody else should have as the number one spot, I have Avengers Infinity War. Outside of like the last 40 minutes of Endgame, this movie is the MCU's magnum opus. There's not really much else I can say about this movie that everybody else has not said already, but it is just so, so, so good. It's just like incredible that this movie exists. And Thor in this movie might be my favorite like character performance in the entire MCU. And Thor's entrance in Wakanda is an S tier moment, might be my favorite in the franchise. But there's my top 10. What do y'all think? And what are your top 10 favorite movies in the MCU?